At 57 years old, Mike Tyson finally breaks his silence, a silence he carried through knockouts, scandals, prison walls, and the long, brutal road of redemption. The man the world once feared now reveals something far more unsettling than any punch he ever threw. The 5 people he hated the most during the darkest years of his rise and fall. It is a confession no one expected. Not from the unstoppable champion, not from the monster the media created, and certainly not from the man who has spent decades trying to bury the chaos of his past. But what lies behind this revelation? Why now? Why would Tyson expose the wounds he spent a lifetime hiding beneath violence, fame, and survival? Insiders whisper that these names followed him like shadows through every victory. Number 5. Mitch Green. For Mike Tyson, hatred did not always grow from betrayal or manipulation. Sometimes it was born in chaos, raw, violent, unforgettable. And few people embodied that chaos more than Mitch Green, the street-bred fighter who challenged Tyson not just in the ring but in the darkest corners of New York City. Their rivalry was less a feud and more a collision of two tempers destined to explode. Their first meeting in 1986 was already a storm. Green strutted into the arena with an ego as loud as his mouth, calling Tyson overrated, protected, and nothing but hype. Tyson, young and already carrying the weight of a meteoric rise, faced him with silent fury. The fight itself was brutal, but Tyson's victory only deepened Green's resentment. He thought beating Tyson would make him a star, one insider recalled. Losing made him obsessed. But the real story, the one Tyson never forgot, happened far from the cameras. 4 a.m., a Harlem clothing store. Green spotted Tyson and confronted him, shouting insults, demanding money he believed he was owed, claiming the boxing world was rigged in Tyson's favor. Witnesses still remember the moment Tyson snapped. A single punch, explosive, brutal, shattered Green's face and broke Tyson's own hand. It became legendary overnight. Tabloids circled like vultures. Photos of Green's battered face spread across every front page. To Green, it became a badge of twisted pride. To Tyson, it was humiliation he couldn't escape. Insiders say Tyson despised Green not because of the fight, but because Green kept chasing the spotlight afterward, mocking Tyson on talk shows, reenacting the punch, turning a moment of Tyson's shame into his own badge of fame. He made a joke out of something that haunted Mike, a former trainer said. For Tyson, Green became the embodiment of the street violence he was trying to leave behind, a ghost from a world he no longer wanted to be part of, yet could never fully escape. Number 4. Kevin Rooney. If Mitch Green represented the chaos Tyson fought in the streets, then Kevin Rooney represented a different kind of wound, the kind that comes when the one person who protects you is suddenly taken away. Rooney wasn't just a trainer, he was family. The last living bridge connecting Tyson to Cus D'Amato, the father figure who shaped him. And losing Rooney wasn't a disagreement, a split, or a professional separation. To Tyson, it was a betrayal engineered by people he never trusted. Rooney had been there since the beginning, guiding Tyson through the same routines Cus created, drilling discipline into him with kindness, not fear. Insiders recall how Tyson listened to Rooney with a respect he rarely gave anyone else. Kevin kept him human, a former sparring partner said. When Cus died, Rooney became the only voice Mike still trusted. But then came Don King, and with him, influence, pressure, manipulation. King wanted control, full control, over Tyson's career. Rooney stood in the way. He knew Tyson was vulnerable, and he became fiercely protective. That made him a problem. The fracture came quietly over weeks of tension. Whispers in Tyson's ear, promises of freedom, hints that Rooney was holding him back. Tyson, young and emotionally unstable, began to distance himself. He was being pulled apart, one insider said. Kevin saw it happening but couldn't stop it. The breaking point came in 1988. Tyson fired Rooney, not in person, but through intermediaries. Rooney found out the same way the world did, on television. He was devastated, a close friend said, not because of the job, because he knew Mike wasn't the one who made that decision. For Tyson, losing Rooney meant losing the last anchor tying him to the discipline, safety, and emotional stability Cus had built for him. His life spiraled soon after, erratic training, disastrous management, personal collapse. And deep inside, Tyson always knew the truth. Firing Rooney broke something in him he never recovered from. Number 3. Teddy Atlas. If Kevin Rooney represented the wound of abandonment, then Teddy Atlas represented the wound of fear. The kind only a young, volatile Mike Tyson could understand. Their story began in the dim, sweaty gyms of Catskill long before the fame, the millions, the belts. Teddy was one of Cus D'Amato's most trusted protégés, disciplined, intense, and fiercely protective of the gym's sacred code. Tyson was raw power wrapped in chaos. Their relationship was destined to ignite. The breaking point came early. Tyson, still a teenager, crossed a line that Atlas could not forgive, a moment insiders describe as dangerously personal. Atlas, in a fury, confronted Tyson not with words but with a gun, holding it to his head and commanding him to never come near his family again. It was a moment Tyson would remember for the rest of his life. He wasn't afraid of anyone, one former Catskill boxer said, but he was afraid of Teddy that night. When Cus chose to keep Tyson in the gym instead of removing him, Atlas felt betrayed. He left D'Amato's camp, convinced Tyson was a threat and a ticking bomb. Tyson, in turn, felt Atlas had humiliated him, exposed him, treated him like a dangerous animal rather than a young fighter who needed guidance. Years later, when Tyson rose to fame, Atlas never softened. He criticized Tyson publicly, calling him undisciplined, mentally unstable, and a bully. Whenever Tyson stumbled, legal trouble, personal collapse, prison, Atlas appeared on television, coldly reminding the world that he had seen it coming. He hated that, a former friend said. He felt Teddy enjoyed watching him fall. The hostility went both ways. Tyson felt Atlas robbed him of the chance to repair their relationship. Atlas felt Tyson never admitted wrongdoing. Every encounter afterward carried the weight of that gun that night, that moment that severed the path they might have shared. Number 2. Lennox Lewis. If Teddy Atlas represented fear from Tyson's youth, then Lennox Lewis represented humiliation at the height of Tyson's fame. The one opponent Tyson could not intimidate, could not overpower, and could never escape. Their rivalry wasn't born in the spotlight. It began in quiet gyms long before either man held a belt, when Tyson and Lewis sparred as teenagers under Cus D'Amato's watchful eye. Even then, insiders say the tension was unmistakable. Tyson was raw aggression. Lewis was discipline and control. And Tyson hated that Lewis never flinched. As their careers rose, destiny pushed them apart, but resentment stitched them together. Tyson became the youngest heavyweight champion in history. Lewis became the polished Olympic gold medalist, the man touted as the future of boxing. Tyson despised the comparisons. He despised the suggestion that someone else could be his equal. But the true fracture came years later when the press, smelling blood, turned their rivalry into theater. At a promotional event in 2002, Tyson lunged at Lewis, triggering an all-out brawl. Cameras captured the chaos. Trainers wrestled bodies apart. Lewis punched Tyson. Tyson bit Lewis's leg. It became global news within hours. Insiders recall Tyson raging backstage, shouting that Lewis had disrespected him. But the truth, whispered by those who knew Tyson best, was darker. Tyson realized Lewis wasn't afraid of him, and that terrified him. Then came the fight. June 8, 2002. The night Tyson's myth cracked. Lewis dominated him round after round, precise, calm, unmovable. Every jab was a reminder that Tyson's aura of invincibility was fading. Every punch shattered another piece of the legend he built. And number 1, Evander Holyfield. Among all the rivals who crossed Mike Tyson's path, none pierced deeper, lasted longer, or shaped his downfall and rebirth more profoundly than Evander Holyfield, the man Tyson could neither defeat nor forget. Their rivalry was not built on hatred alone. It was built on destiny, humiliation, and a collision of two worlds, Tyson's chaos and Holyfield's unwavering discipline. To Tyson, Holyfield was everything he wasn't: calm, spiritual, controlled. A fighter whose strength came not from rage but from conviction. And that infuriated Tyson. He couldn't intimidate him, one insider said. That's what drove him crazy. Their first encounter in 1996 shattered Tyson's confidence. He entered the ring expecting to destroy Holyfield. Instead, Holyfield walked straight through him. Round after round, Tyson watched his power, the only thing he ever trusted, fail against a man he had underestimated. The loss wasn't just a defeat, it was a psychological collapse. But what cemented Holyfield as the man Tyson hated most wasn't the first fight. It was the rematch. June 28, 1997. The night boxing descended into scandal. Tyson, frustrated by headbutts, pressure, and the feeling that history was slipping away, snapped. In a moment that would haunt him forever, he bit Holyfield's ear. Twice. It wasn't rage, a trainer recalled. It was desperation. The aftermath was catastrophic. Tyson was disqualified, fined, suspended, and globally ridiculed. Headlines didn't just attack him, they defined him. For years, Tyson lived under the shadow of that moment, and Holyfield, without uttering a cruel word, became the embodiment of Tyson's shame. What angered Tyson most wasn't the fight. It was Holyfield's dignity. He never broke, a former associate said. When Mike Tyson finished naming the 5 men who shaped the rage, fear, and humiliation buried inside him, the room fell into a silence so heavy it felt physical. Because this was not merely a list of rivals, it was a confession, a map of the wounds he had carried across decades of violence, fame, and chaos. And the truth behind these names revealed something far darker than hatred. Mitch Green was the reminder of a world Tyson tried to escape. The streets, the danger, the constant pull of his past. Kevin Rooney was the severed link to the only family Tyson ever trusted, the regret he never learned to express. Teddy Atlas was the echo of fear and shame from a childhood shaped by violence and survival. Lennox Lewis was the man who shattered the myth of invincibility Tyson built around himself. And Evander Holyfield, the final name, was the living symbol of everything Tyson could not conquer: discipline, control, and the moment that would forever define him. Insiders say Tyson didn't speak these names to reopen old wounds. He spoke them to finally acknowledge the shadows he had outrun for years. Each man represented a piece of his downfall, but also a piece of the man he became after surviving it all. As Tyson leaned back, the rage in his voice faded into something unexpected: exhaustion, acceptance, a fragile honesty rarely seen from him. These men, they pushed me, they broke me, they showed me who I really was, he said softly. And in that moment, it became clear. Tyson's story was never about the punches he threw. It was about the demons he fought when no one was watching. Because the truth is simple and brutal. Greatness is never forged in the spotlight. It is forged in the shadows. And for Mike Tyson, the darkest battles were never in the ring, but deep within himself.